Hey y'all, welcome back to the frying pan of the Chrispy Fried Take Sports Podcast, where I give you some of the crispiest takes possible, or some that are just incredibly burnt. I'm your host Chrispy, and today in the frying pan I review the women's and men's Final Four, my takeaways from the MLB Opening Day weekend. From burnt to crispy, I rank streaming services, and then we have a new segment called Would You Rather. And as always, to close out the show, what happened today in sports history? It's April 2nd, 2024, so let's get sizzling. In March Madness, I guess what I could say my takeaway is from this previous weekend was that the devil doesn't win on Easter, because NC State, the 11th seed, is going to the Final Four. And I guess I'll jump forward a little bit. They beat Duke. They beat Duke pretty well. The final score was 76-64, and NC State nearly played a flawless second half. I mean, the first half they were down by a little bit, but in the second half they got Kyle Filipowski to foul out early, and they limited Jared McCain. And honestly, those were the two keys to success. And NC State just walked past, led by DJ Burns. I mean, DJ Burns is a beast. I've seen him play. I guess everyone's seen him play, but from watching him play, I mean, that guy he's big. He's a 6'9", 275 pound, although 275 pounds is kind of debatable. He's a big dude that has excellent footwork and has a great floater. So that's my big takeaway from the weekend. But we'll go back. I'll go back to the Sweet 16. And by the way, if you're interested in how my bracket's doing, it's toast. It's done. My bracket is horrific because I had North Carolina in the Final Four. Who did I have in the Final Four? I had Houston in the Final Four, and I had Gonzaga in the Final Four. So 3 of those teams are out, and I have UConn on my national champion, but that doesn't matter. But anyway, in the Sweet 16, UConn looks like an unstoppable force because they beat San Diego State 82-52 in the Sweet 16. And just a reminder, that was the national championship game last year. Those two teams were in the national championship, so they beat the second best team last year by 30. That's dangerous. And then Illinois beat Iowa State 72-69, and some people are saying like Illinois had a chance. They're the best team that could beat UConn. No, because UConn, it was close at halftime against Illinois, but UConn in the second half went on a 30-0 run. UConn scored 30 points while Illinois scored 0, which led to UConn beating Illinois 77-52. UConn has not played a close game. Like, they haven't played a close game this whole tournament. So right now they look unbeatable. And then you go to the West, and I think Alabama just gets all these teams into a trap. They're fast-paced transition offense, and they just keep on beating teams. If it's a high-scoring game, Alabama's going to win every time nearly, because they beat North Carolina 89-87, and North Carolina was one of the favorites to make it back, and they beat them 89-87. And then they played Clemson, who Clemson was kind of a shocker. No one was thinking Clemson. And Clemson's kind of the return of the white American basketball player. You know, that's their team. They're all just these. They're kind of like BYU a little bit. They're just all these white dudes that can shoot. But anyway, Alabama beat Clemson pretty handedly. It was close, but like down the stretch towards the end, Alabama just got ahead, and they won 89-82. And then you go into the South. So the Final Four is UConn versus Alabama and the East and West region. Then you go to South, and Duke beat U of H. Now, I don't know, because Houston lost their star player like in the second half. Let me see. Star player, what's his name? I can't think of his name. Star player of Houston that got hurt. Oh no, not him. Houston. But anyway, Houston star player got hurt like in the second quarter, and Jamal Sheed. Yeah, that was his name. Jamal Sheed, their star player for Houston, got hurt, and Duke just basically took that opportunity and won, because if Houston had him back throughout the whole game, they would have won that game, because Duke wasn't playing great, and Houston just seemed to have all the momentum until he got hurt, and then they just kind of lost it. But anyway, NC State killed Marquette 67-58, and I don't think they ever gave up the lead in that game. That game was NC State's the whole time, and then NC State beat Duke like I just talked about, and NC State's in the Final Four, first time since 1983. And then the Midwest, it's the Zach Edey show, because Purdue beat Gonzaga 80-68, and then they played Tennessee in the Elite Eight, and it's just like, watching Purdue basketball is frustrating. It's watching Zach Edey in college basketball. It's the same thing. It's just frustrating, because I don't blame Zach Edey. I blame the refs, because they call a foul literally every single time he gets the ball. And I get it. It's tough to guard a 7'4" dude. But, I watched that game. There's no reason why there should be that many fouls on him. And he never got a foul against him. And there were some times where he was pushing a lot than the other guys that were on him. And that's no fun to watch. So anyway, it's NC State versus Purdue and UConn versus Alabama. And NC State versus Purdue is going to be a good game, because it's going to be DJ Burns versus Zach Edey, 6'9", 300 versus like a 7'4" dude. So that'll be an interesting game. Then UConn and Alabama. Now UConn's the heavy favorite over Alabama, and I have UConn winning, because I don't think Alabama will trap UConn. Dan Hurley, the UConn Huskies, their head coach, he seems to be good at not letting his players get distracted, and I think UConn wins. And it was actually funny, because I looked back on the CBS Sports page, and they had, when it was the Sweet 16, their top two teams were UConn and Purdue. So number 1, number 2, they got right. But their last two teams in the Sweet 16, so 15 and 16, 15 was Alabama and 16 was NC State. So that just shows that even though they may be college basketball experts, they don't really know what's going on. And if I had to guess for the national championship, the Final Four, I think, as much as I know I've been wrong about basically everything, but as much as I love NC State, I think Purdue wins, and I think UConn wins, because UConn has this dude that's 7'2", and Purdue's got Zach Edey, and I think that would just be a thrill to watch. And those are clearly the two best, most consistent teams in college basketball. Now, the only thing is, I think UConn beats Alabama, but the only thing with NC State Purdue, NC State's the hottest team in college basketball, and it's tough to go against the hottest team, because it's not the national championship in a lot of sports isn't necessarily always dictated by who's the best team the whole season. It's who's the hottest team at the right time. In baseball, who's the hottest team in October? They weren't necessarily the best. The Rangers lost for going baseball terms, the Rangers lost the division to the Astros last season, but it ends up the Rangers winning the World Series. So it's not always the best team. It's the hottest team. And so NC State could give Purdue a run for their money. If Zach Edey gets into foul trouble, although he's disciplined in fouls, giving out fouls, he doesn't really foul out that often. That'll be interesting with NC State and Purdue. And then out of Purdue and UConn, I think it's UConn going back-to-back. Now, Purdue would love it, because they've never won a national championship before. But I think it's UConn all the way. I think they're just too well coached, too well disciplined. They're just ready. They were here last year. They have the experience. So I would go with UConn as my national champion. Now, kind of transitioning to the women's side. Now, I didn't post this. I didn't talk about it. But my women's college basketball bracket. Okay, actually, my men's tournament bracket rank for the Chrispy Fried Takes pod is 11.3 million rank with a 55.4%. That's how good I did. I made a women's college basketball bracket, and I'm pretty good at that, I guess, because My pick, my rank is 14,689 with a 99.6%, like 99.6% correct. And so that one's doing pretty good. And now we're going to talk some women's college basketball because the games the other night were actually pretty good. And so if this will load, it would be phenomenal. But we'll start out with South Carolina and Oregon State because I think South Carolina is the best team. South Carolina is the best team in the whole tournament. Best overall. They've got the best coach. They've got literally everything you could ask for in a team. They got shooters. They got big girls, like not big men, but they've got a well coached. They got a well-rounded team, and so basically, oh my goodness, my bracket loaded. Okay, so yeah, and they've killed every team they've played. Now Oregon State was close. The Sweet 16 Elite 8 games were close for them. They beat Indiana 79-75, and they beat South Carolina, Oregon. They beat Oregon State 70-58, but they've always been in the lead, and I was never worried about them. And so South Carolina's in the Final Four. Now, NC State, I actually predicted, before I get any further, in the women's Final Four, I got all four teams right. Now, that may be because in women's college basketball, there's a wider disparity of talent, so there's not as many upsets, so it's a little easier to predict, but I got the whole entire Final Four right. You had NC State winning it all. Now they're basically the South Carolina ACC, a well-rounded team that can play, that just fills every gap, fills every position. They beat the 1 seed Texas 76-66. And then they beat Stanford 77-67. And Stanford has Cameron Brink on there, who's like she's like 6'4", and she's like one of the best players. And they beat her pretty handedly. So the Final Four is South Carolina and NC State are both two well-rounded teams. Now, I guess when you go to the Region 2, Region 3 for women's college basketball, it's a little bit different because both those teams are kind of led by Iowa, and UConn are both kind of led by individuals. Now, Iowa played LSU last night in the Elite Eight, and that was the biggest 1v5 I've ever seen because, no offense to the Iowa women's basketball team, but without Caitlin Clark, they don't have a winning record. Caitlin Clark does everything on the floor, and even when she cries a little bit into the stands, you'll kind of see her. Sometimes she can be a little bit of a crybaby. She kind of warrants it because I saw that game and she was giving great passes to her teammates, and they couldn't follow through on some like minorly contested layups, and so. Without Caitlin Clark, Iowa would be toast. And actually, this is kind of funny. I looked it up. If you ever want to know what an Iowa Hawkeye is, it's, even though their logo's a bird, it's not, their logo's not, a Hawkeye doesn't exist. It's fake. Because the bird, if you look it up, like Iowa Hawkeyes bird, if you look it up, it's actually, hold on. It's actually an American goldfinch. So it's not like an actual Hawkeye. And Hawkeye actually just means like an average person that lives in Iowa. It's just an Iowan, like a Texan, but Iowan. I don't know how you say it. But it's just, I just call it just some dude that lives in Iowa. It's not even a real bird. That's what a Hawkeye means. So that's pretty interesting. It's not an actual bird. So I was pretty confused on that. And so basically, yeah, without Caitlin Clark, Iowa's just toast. They'd be screwed. And then you move to the other Final Four team, UConn. Overall, probably like the most dominant team in college basketball for the last 20 years. UConn beat USC and Juju Watkins. USC was kind of another one woman army. But everyone forgot about Paige Buckets. Paige Weckers was that girl before Caitlin Clark and everyone. She was the next one up, and she had an injury last year that kind of, derailed her from the public eye and allowed Caitlin Clark to rise up. But Paige Buckers is back, and that'll be a good game. And also, kind of some new news that came out was that Caitlin Clark growing up wanted to be a UConn Husky like everyone else did. I guess every other girl that was good at good at basketball wanted to play for UConn. But anyway, she didn't get looked at by UConn at all. Like, they didn't show up to anything for her. They didn't show up. So that's why she went to Iowa. She always wanted to be a UConn player. So she's got some extra motivation to kind of stick it to them. So I wouldn't be surprised if Caitlin Clark goes off again like she did against LSU and Kim Mulkey and Angel Reese's team, because she dominated them. Like, that was clear cut, like, domination. And then that's just kind of how it is. And then, okay. Anyway, sorry, I was looking on my phone. I was trying to find. She scored 41 points. There it is. Caitlin Clark scored 41 points against LSU. So that's revenge from last year's national championship game. And so, man, I'm using a lot of and so's. Holy cow. So basically, you go to the Final Four is UConn, Iowa, South Carolina, NC State. Now, I had a correct Final Four, so I guess I got to ride with my championship pick is Iowa, and I have them playing South Carolina in the national championship. And if that actually happens, that'll be a good game because South Carolina's focused on team ball. They probably have the best team chemistry out of any team I've seen in the women's tournament. And Iowa's just honestly a one-woman army. It's just Caitlin Clark. And so that would be a good game. But Iowa versus UConn will be incredible. Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark in the championship would be great. And then South Carolina, NC State, two of the best teams, like overall teams in college basketball. That is also a phenomenal game led by Dawn Staley of the South Carolina Gamecocks. So that's kind of how it is for basketball. Now, actually, this is kind of a transition here. I was actually thinking of I was kind of going to do a Mike Leach impression, not really an impression. I don't know what you call it, but the reason I looked up what a Hawkeye was because I was like going to do a battle royale between all the mascots. Like, if you look up a Mike Leach clip, the old Washington State, Mississippi State coach, some interviewer asked him like who would win in a like kind of basically a dogfight between all the Pac-12 mascots, and he goes on like a 5-minute rant. I was kind of thinking about doing the same thing, and you know what? I will, because why not? This is my podcast. I get to do what I want to do. Anyway, we'll go to the Sweet 16 because that's the only thing that's I guess it's the only thing that's worth going to. So we're gonna go to the Sweet 16 now. Since UConn and NC State, both women's and men's teams are in the still in the tournament still, they get two. So the Battle Royale is going to take place in the Roman Coliseum. We're going to have the Iowa Hawkeye. Here are the contestants. The Iowa Hawkeye, the UConn Husky, the NC State Wolfpack, the South Carolina Gamecocks, which is just a rooster, the Oregon State Beaver, the Texas Longhorn, the LSU Tiger, and the USC the Trojan. Now on the men's side, you have the UConn Husky and the NC State Wolfpack again. You have Alabama, which is an elephant, a Boilermaker, which is just a tradesman, and Illinois. And actually the Fighting Illini, they don't have a mascot. They just don't have one. So Fighting Illinois is just an average Illinoisan, I don't know, average dude from Illinois. Clemson is a tiger, Duke is a blue devil, and Tennessee is a dog. So we're going to act like this is in the Rome, I don't know. Should I do the Roman Coliseum? Yeah, why not? We're going to act like this is a Roman Coliseum. Which mascot? Now imagine none of the costumes, these are all real things, would win. Now, by looking at this, there's some clear-cut people that lose and clear-cut people that win. Tennessee loses. Actually, just for clarification, I don't know if I said this, but we're going based off the Sweet 16. The mascots from the women's and men's Sweet 16 are going up against each other. And if, like, UConn has 2 Huskies, NC State has 2 Wolf Packs. So, or I guess just Wolves. So So they get double since they're both in the tournament. And so basically, here's who I think. Now you could go two routes with this. This is nothing to do college basketball related, but you can go two routes with this. Either the Alabama Elephant just storms everyone because the elephant's overpowered, and that's like one way you could go with it, because there's no way two tigers are going to... I don't think two tigers could take down an elephant. I think it would take more. The wolf pack's not taking it down. No one individually... I don't think a blue devil's taking it down. And so you have the elephant as a clear-cut winner. Now, the other way you could look at this, and this is my personal favorite, is what if they all teamed up on the elephant first? What if there was like a mutual agreement between all the mascots to go get the Alabama elephant? So what I would think is that this is how I would think it is. This is in the Roman Coliseum. They're all in a circle surrounded. I would think you get the two tigers, and you get the wolf pack and the huskies. I guess the longhorn too. They all go out and get the elephant with the Trojan, the Boilermaker, and I guess the dude from Iowa and Illinois with both who have pitchforks or whatever. I think they get the elephant first. I think that's what you have to do. I think you get the elephant first, and you have the blue devil. Does a blue devil have powers? That's interesting. We need to look that up. Does a blue devil have powers? Does a blue devil have powers? Oh man. Blue Devil's powers originally came from a highly sophisticated. Okay, how strong? Okay, so a Blue Devil has some degree, and these are like, I guess this is like the DC comic, so we're gonna kind of go off that. Has some degree of superhuman strength. Okay, so has superhuman strength. So I think what you would do is. So it's basically the Blue Devil just has superhuman strength. I know I said that 5 times, but I think you use the Blue Devil to take down the elephant, and then you turn on the Blue Devil. That's what I would do. So I would take the Alabama elephant out, and then you all team up on the superhuman strength. Now, how would you get as someone with superhuman strength? That's the real question. Because superhuman strength, tough to do. Or do you go for new idea. Use the elephant to take down. I would actually switch it up. The Blue Devil's the most powerful person. Now, if you let the Blue Devil and the Alabama elephant go together, they're beating everyone. But what I would do is take the elephant and you surround it. So you have two to take down the Blue Devil. Now, the Blue Devil, you've got two tigers and a longhorn, and they distract you and get the elephant to stomp on them. I think that's how you win. And then you turn on the elephant. And that's how I would win. Take out the two strongest competitors first. And now you're left with two tigers. We're gonna bring it down, cross those two off. So I think you can get rid of the Blue Devil and the Blue Devil and the elephant. So basically take those two off. I'm taking those two off my roster. So I think that's more fun. Now, realistically, probably the Blue Devil and the Crimson Tide the elephant would win. But that's no fun to think about. So what I'm thinking is that, okay, so now you're left with two tigers. So you're left with both Huskies, the Wolf Pack, the Rooster, and the Beaver. And I think this is when you kind of start getting the weakest links out. And I think the Beaver would lose, and the South Carolina Gamecock, the dog, would lose. So basically, you've got Tennessee's dog is losing. You got the Oregon State Beaver losing, because if there was water, I think the Beaver may have a longer chance to stay alive. But we're going to say this is the Roman Coliseum, so they don't get that advantage. And so NC State's going to last a little longer. You got South Carolina, so they're gone. So those are gone. So Tennessee, gone. Oregon State and South Carolina, gone. So now you're left with two Huskies and the NC State Wolves. Now, to make it fair, I think we'll go for the Huskies, they get like the sledding teams with Huskies, I think they get that. So it's basically two big packs of Huskies and two big Wolf packs. They're together. And you have two Tigers, the LSU and Clemson Tiger. We're going to say the Tigers don't like each other because they're two separate colleges, and that wouldn't be fair. And so then you have two Wolf packs, two Husky packs, two Tigers, a Longhorn, a Trojan, Illinois, and basically two people from the Midwest and a Trojan. Now, here's how it would go from here. You either get I think either UConn and NC State teams up because they're both the overpowered group. They have the majority. But I think it's easier to get after if you have a Trojan with you and two Tigers and a Longhorn. I think they're beating the UConn and NC State Wolfpack, and I think they're beating both Huskies no matter how their size, because you got two Tigers in lines. And even though I said the Tigers don't like each other, I think they would team up in this retrospect. I think you just collective as a group agree to get rid of them. So you get the NC State Wolfpack and the Huskies gone. So let me cross them off. NC State and UConn is gone. So the Huskies and the Wolfpack is gone. So in the Coliseum, in the Battle Royale, it's now between the Clemson and LSU Tiger, a Texas Longhorn, an Iowa Hawkeye. Iowa Hawkeye, Texas Longhorn, both Tigers, a Trojan, a Boilermaker, and an Illinois. Now, I don't think any of the I think the two Tigers are pretty tough to beat. But I think Boilermaker, like a tradesman, I think they get like a big hammer or something. They get kind of like special. They get kind of special treatment or whatever. You got a Trojan and a Boilermaker, and you've got a Iowa Hawkeye. So you got like a big hammer. Boilermaker is like a big hammer. You got the Trojan with a spear, and you got a Hawkeye with the pitchfork. Do I think they could take down a Tiger? That is a great question. So you'd have to take individual Tigers on at a time, because if you're in the Coliseum, the Tigers are, I don't think the Tigers at this point are with each other, but they're not fighting each other. They're not really associated. No, and I would assume the Boilermaker, the Illinois, and the Iowa Hawkeye would all team up. And so basically those three would team up. The Longhorns all by itself. Now the Longhorn's dangerous. I think if you were at this point, no one's going to mess with the Longhorn, because you're trying to deal with the two immediate threats. The two biggest threats are the Tigers and the Boilermaker, Illinois, and Clemson. And I think you could take down one of the Tigers. And so you sacrifice the Illinois, the Boilermaker. Okay, wait, hold on. Actually, I don't think I was including the Iowa Hawkeye. So, wait, no, I was. Okay, so you got the Iowa Hawkeye, the Purdue Boilermaker, the Illinois guy. Illinois doesn't have a mascot. We're giving it to the Illinois, like just an average dude from Illinois. And you've got a Trojan. You got four guys versus two Tigers and a Longhorn. I think what you do is, and I guess we could give Iowa Hawkeye a bird, but we're already sticking with a Hawkeye is literally just some dude from Iowa. And so I'd go. I think the humans lose in this. I don't think they all lose. I think if you were USC, you would be smart, and I think you could take out one of the Tigers and you just sacrifice the Iowa dude and the Illinois dude. And so basically, that would take down a Tiger. They would take down one, and we're gonna go with they'll take down the Clemson Tiger, because the LSU Tiger made it further in the tournament. So we'll say the Clemson Tiger is weaker. So now you have, and by doing that, you would lose the Illinois, and you would use the Iowa Hawkeye. I think the Trojan would last. I think they could surprise a Tiger. So now you're left with a Texas Longhorn, an LSU Tiger, a USC Trojan, and a Purdue Boilermaker. Who's the next one to go? Now, do you go for the Longhorn? I don't know, because if you're the USC Trojan and the Boilermaker, you just fought another Tiger. And I don't know if you want to go to the Longhorn, but I think the Animals would be more willing to team up against a Trojan and Boilermaker. So, but actually I think they'd go for the Longhorn because the Longhorn wasn't interfering. So I think if they all agree to go for the Longhorn, I think you would do that. I think you'd all go for the Longhorn. I think you could beat the Longhorn without any casualties on that. So the Texas Longhorn is next to go. So now you're left with the Purdue Boilermaker, a USC Trojan, and a Tiger. And I think this is what happens. You're in the Roman Coliseum. I didn't think about this, but I guess it gives the Trojan advantage because it's like home field. But what I would do is you sacrifice the Boilermaker to the Tiger. And then I think the Trojan, if it's like battle tested enough, because back in those days, a Trojan could take down whatever wild animal they got. This is like the best Trojan. I guess I should have clarified that earlier, but this is the USC Trojan. So I think you and the Trojan, and the Boilermaker make an alliance to take down the LSU Tiger. But I think you kind of feed the Boilermaker to the Tiger, and as the Tiger's just getting the grip on the Boilermaker, the Trojan stabs the Tiger, and the USC Trojan would win the Battle Royale for like the best I guess the most overpowered or realistic mascot battle. I think that's what I would do. So out of all the schools, out of the South Carolina Gamecocks, the Oregon State Beavers, the Texas Longhorns, the NC State Wolfpack, the Iowa Hawkeye, the LSU Tiger, the USC Trojan, the UConn Husky, and the women's tournament. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned this, but we're going from the Elite Eight and on, and this is what the tournament was from the Elite Eight teams and on in both women's and men's tournament. And then the men's, you have the UConn Husky, the Illinois, the Alabama Crimson Tide, and the Clemson Tiger, and the Duke Blue Devil, the NC State Wolfpack, the Purdue Boilermaker, and the Tennessee Volunteer. And that's who I think would win the Battle Royale between all of them. So those are my March Madness takes. A little recap is that I have Iowa and UConn in the men's side winning the championship, and Iowa on the women's side winning the championship. And if all the mascots from the Elite Eight teams and on had a Battle Royale, I would pick the USC Trojan to win it all. Last Thursday, it was opening day for the MLB, and the Astros, oh my goodness, the Astros disappointed me so much. So much. Because they got swept by the Yankees. They got swept by Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, the whole entire Yankees team at home, which is unacceptable. 7 straight ALCS and you come out like this. And that's just a disappointment. But the thing with the Astros is that they historically start bad and they kind of just build up to being good. So there's concern, but there's not as much concern as there are any other teams. And the thing that stinks about the Astros is that their bullpen lost them the game. They were ahead in all 4 of their games they played against the Yankees at home, and they blew it. And so that's very disappointing. The only benefit was yesterday on Monday, the oh my goodness, the relieving pitchers, I'm just blanking on their names, but anyway, only their starter pitcher had to touch the ball because Ronel Blanco pitched a perfect game against the Blue Jays yesterday, which is Monday. He's through 9 innings with 7 strikeouts and only walked 2 players. So that's a pretty good game. The Astros won 10-0, so maybe if they're just not playing the Yankees, they'll do better. And they just stink at home because they can't win any of their games at home. They're now, before the Blue Jays won, they were like 0-8. They were like 0-8 on their last few games at home because they lost all their home games against the Rangers in the playoffs. So the Astros, disappointing, but not too much cause. I guess there is concern, but there's not as much of a cause for them. And I guess we'll see if they get any better because they're playing the Blue Jays right now. Then they play the Braves. And they've got the Rangers over the next week or so, next 2 weeks. So that will be a tough test to see how well they really are. They're probably going to have a losing record at this time. I mean, they're already 1-4, so I don't see them sweeping either of these. They may sweep the Blue Jays and they go back to 500, but if they play like they did against the Yankees, I don't see them winning the series against the Braves or the Rangers. That's just very disappointing. But my World Series prediction is still live that the Astros will win it all. Just the first few games of the season. But the Rangers, however, I mean, the Rangers are looking pretty good because they have 2 rookies on their team. I mean, Evan Carter played 2 or 3 months last season, helped them win a World Series. But they also have Wyatt Langford now, which is like one of the top college prospects, and he's turning out really good because the Rangers won the series against the Cubs for their opening day. One of them, the first game took the extra innings, and that was a pretty fun watch. But yeah, the Rangers are still good. There's no doubt about that. They still have Bruce Bochy. They still have their whole entire. They basically have everyone. The only person they lost is Jordan Montgomery, but they didn't acquire him for their World Series run until the trade deadline. So the Rangers are still good. They're probably the best team in baseball right now. Them and the Dodgers, because the Dodgers swept the Padres in the Seoul series in South Korea, and then they beat the Cardinals. They beat the Cardinals in their series, and everyone's looking good. They've got a killer lineup with Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei, and then everyone else is doing good on their team as well. And their pitching staff, their pitchers are just as good. The Dodgers are the clear favorite. They're probably the best team. The Rangers, I'd give an argue that they're the best team right now, but it's only the first 4 or 5 games for everyone, so it's a little early to decide who's good and who's not because some teams could totally blow it later. But those are just the top 2 teams. The surprising team, I guess the surprising conference, however, is where it's the NL. It's the NL Central because the Cubs against the Dodgers are 2-3, or right now the record is 2-3, and that's not bad for playing the Dodgers. A lot of people thought they'd get swept. The Pirates are 5-0. The Pirates the last undefeated team, actually. No, the Yankees are undefeated, and the Tigers are undefeated, which the Tigers is surprising because Miguel Cabrera left, and he retired, and so they lost a lot of experience. But the Tigers are doing good. And the NL Central is surprising because the Pirates are undefeated. I don't know who they played, but the Brewers beat the Mets, and the Mets are disappointing again that in a bit. The Reds did good against the Twins. Let's see, who did they play? The Reds beat they just beat the Phillies yesterday, and they beat not the Twins, the Washington Nationals is who they played. Get the teams mixed up. And then the Cubs, they beat the Rockies yesterday, and they won 1 game against the Rangers, but the Cubs are a good team. They just need to get that team chemistry together. And then obviously the Diamondbacks are still good, even though they lost to the Yankees last night. And the Yankees are they're good. Their pitching is good. They don't even have their best pitcher, Garrett Cole, back. They can stay healthy. They'll make a push. Let's not forget about the Orioles because they've got Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson. They've got everyone. I mean, it's hard to look past them with how they're clicking. And they're quick, they're young, they're eager, they're hungry. I don't know what you could say. The Orioles are definitely a team to watch out for. Another team to watch out for is the Atlanta Braves. Their lineup is insane from top to bottom. They beat who they beat last night. I saw the game. I saw a lot of these games. I can't remember. They beat the Chicago White Sox, which White Sox are unfortunate, may not mean nothing, but they beat the Phillies. They swept the Phillies. I mean, the Phillies are a good team, and they won 9-3, 12-4, and 5. No, they lost 4-5 against the Phillies. But still, the Braves are a good team. Ronald Acuna Jr., Matt Olson, everyone is still insane on that team, and they have great pitching with Spencer Strider. There's no reason why they should make it to the World. They should make it to the World Series, honestly. But I don't know. A lot of these big teams choke. So it's only the beginning. Only the beginning. So it's fine. And also, I like the Astros, but I'm also secretly kind of like a Mets fan. And the Mets, oh my goodness, they're just disappointing. They got Edwin Diaz back, their closer, who hurt his back last season from the World Baseball Classic. But my oh my, are the Mets disappointing? They got swept by the Milwaukee Brewers, and that's just sad because the Milwaukee Brewers are good, but they're not the greatest. They should have won one of these games because like it was only like last season. Last season they were like at the beginning of last season they were favored to win it all. They had Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Pete Alonso was great, Francisco Lindor was great, and they just choked. They lost a lot of games, and now they just feel like less impressive. They have a disappointing roster, and honestly, if they like they don't have any expectations. They're going to be one of the bottom. They could very well be the a bottom 5 team this season, and that is crazy for the New York Mets, one of the like most richest history of baseball in the league, and they could be a bottom 5 team this season. And so those are my opening day takeaways. Just brief about everyone. I mean, I know a lot about baseball, but that's just a casual baseball fan from a casual baseball fan. That's just what I've seen. The Astros and the Rangers, it'll be interesting when they play each other this coming weekend, how well they will do against each other, because I think that'll really dictate who's better than the other. Maybe the Astros was just a fluke. Maybe the Rangers was just a fluke with how good they were, but I don't think so. That should be a great matchup to see. So those are my takes on MLB Opening Day weekend. On today's episode of Burnt to Chrispy, we have streaming services. So here are the 5 streaming services. We've got Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO, Amazon Prime, and Peacock, because those are the majority. Those are the primary streaming services. And we're going to rank them from burnt to crispy. All right, so in the burnt category, the very burnt category, we've got Netflix. Now, Netflix is pretty expensive now, and I don't like that. Plus, they're cracking down on like the shared password information and everything. But the problem is, it's like you have to be with the same Wi-Fi network. And so it's like, I'm in college. So it's like, if I'm using my family's Netflix and I come to college and I use it on my TV in my room, I can't use it because they think like it's been shared and it's not theirs. It's dumb. Netflix has just been dumb. And also their content has gone down a lot. It's really just Netflix original content, a rotation of movies and TV shows that they just get for like a month or two. So Netflix is just burnt. Netflix is not my favorite. And then next up is Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime does not have that many options because it's kind of similar to Netflix. Now this is kind of still in the burnt category. Next to Netflix, it's like you've got a few movies, a few TV shows, but you have to they offer a lot of TV shows and movies to rent. But I didn't get Amazon Prime just so, how am I going to say this? I didn't get Amazon Prime just to rent movies. So Amazon Prime goes right where Netflix is in the burnt category. And then in the middle is Disney Plus. Now Disney Plus, I think what carries itself is that, Disney Plus is going to get, I think, Disney Plus we're going to move Peacock to third. Now, Peacock is third because they've actually got good content on there. They took all the NBC shows. They've got Office, Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, all those shows. And then, honestly, that may be a little biased because they have this one show called The Traitors. It's this reality TV show where you trap all these famous reality stars in a castle, and 3 of them are considered traitors, and the other reality show, all the other contestants try to vote out the traitors, and if they vote out all the traitors, they get the cash. They get all the cash. And if the traitors win, they get all the cash. It's a great show, highly recommended, and that may be why I think Peacock just has higher quality content on there, And it's just a lot better. I think it's just a lot better overall how the system works than Netflix and Amazon Prime. Then second, we have Disney Plus. Now Disney Plus gets second. The reason I changed it from third to second is they just acquired Hulu. And Hulu's huge because you can watch all their TV shows, all their movies that they have on there. And you can watch it. So basically Disney Plus is now like two streaming services into one. And you've got all the Disney Plus, all the Disney content already on there. And they're releasing Star Wars stuff, all their Marvel stuff. Their new Marvel stuff is horrible. It's not good. But they're Disney Plus. They got the Bad Batch. They got the Mandalorian that's on there. That's pretty good. And you can watch like Nat Geo on there, which is kind of a bonus. There's not a lot of nature documentaries on a lot of streaming services. And so you got like all Disney shows, and you just got all their cheesy movies that they have. So I'd put Disney Plus at second. Now, number one, I don't even have HBO, but I know HBO is great because they just have a ton of movies on HBO. And HBO is probably like not as expensive as some of the others. Let's see, how much does HBO cost? Well, it's only $9.99 to $19.99. And it's not as bad as and you get like actual good movies out of it compared to like Amazon Prime and Peacock and everything, because Amazon Prime is $15, so you're paying $5 more with HBO. But Amazon Prime, I feel like you can't watch as many movies. And then the Netflix cost you can get is like their premium is like $24 a month. So that's insane. That's also why Netflix gets the boot. And Disney Plus and Peacock's kind of in the middle. So from burnt to crispy, from burnt to crispy, it's Netflix, Amazon Prime, Peacock, Disney Plus, HBO. That is the correct order. That is the only correct order. And so that's just what I think. On the very first segment of Would You Rather, so basically how it's going to work is that I'm going to give you an event or some type, I guess an event would be or something to accomplish or whatever, and you have different ways to accomplish it. It'll make more sense when I say it. So in today's the first one, here it is. I found this on Instagram. If you were randomly dropped into a pro sporting event with your entire country's hopes and dreams on the line, what would you most want to attempt? So we're going to act like this is the Olympics. Would you rather attempt a free throw, a penalty kick, a 25-yard field goal, or a 6-foot putt? And I could already tell you which one's the hardest one. It would be a 25-yard field goal. Like if I was dropped in right now, a 25-yard field goal is pretty hard. With all the pressure on you, you don't practice it. You don't know I don't know where the footsteps are to do it. That would be the most difficult. And like kicking a football hurts your toes. My toes are like sensitive. I couldn't do that. So, and with all my country's hope and dreams on the line, no. By far and away the hardest one. I would not want to do that. Second hardest one is probably a free throw. Because although when you're in a gym all by yourself, free throws are kind of easy, this one would be quite difficult. Everyone's watching you. The arena's full. You've got one free throw to win for your team to win the gold medal. Yeah, free throws are going to be pretty hard. And especially if I don't practice them like I really don't, all that pressure is probably going to get to me. And then, okay, the second to last one. Now, this may be a little controversial. 6-foot putt. Even though like a 6-foot putt's rather short, with all the pressure on you, I've played golf a lot, and that 6-foot putt feels a lot longer, and it's going to be, you can yank it. You can do so many things. You could shank it, and that's going to be that's pretty difficult. So I would rather do a penalty kick, because no matter how good the goalkeeper is in soccer, he's either going left or right. Like the goalkeeper jumps before you even kick your penalty kick. Like as you're lining up, the dude just jumps to the right or left. So you've got this is the best odds. You basically have a 50-50 shot to make the penalty kick. So that I would rather far and away do the penalty kick. So from last to top, from burnt, I guess, to crispy, we go 25-yard field goal. What was I thinking? Free throw, 6-foot putt, and then penalty kick is by far away. I would rather do the penalty kick. And so we'll just jump into today in sports history. Today in sports history, on April 2nd, 1986, the NCAA Basketball Rules Committee votes to adopt the three-point shot beginning the 1986-87 season, and it set the college distance at 19 feet 9 inches compared to 21 feet in the NBA. Now, who would have thought that would have made the game of basketball evolve where the two-point shot is kind of obsolete and the three-point shot is all people talk about? So, and today in 1986 was when kind of the NBA game changed forever, it seems like. And before I go, I just want to say thank you for listening to this episode of the Chrispy Fry Takes podcast. And a bonus thank you is that I have a listener in Malawi, Africa, that's spelled Malawi, and Africa. So I have an internationally listened to podcast. So that's a great step up. So hopefully whoever it is out there can just keep on listening, and hopefully everyone else listening in the U.S. will just keep on listening as well. And don't forget to give us a follow on whatever media platform you're listening to, and you can give us you can give me a 5-star review. And this podcast will only keep on getting better. New segments, new takes. It'll just keep on improving. And so let this episode sizzle in a bit, and I'll catch you here next week with me. Thank you for listening, and have a great rest of your day.